We are back. It's our final segment this morning with Parker Toler. He is the Metro trustee in charge of collecting property taxes. Yes, billions of dollars every few years, and it pays for the city in large measure, half of about what they take in the city for every public service there is. We don't want to step on the assessor's toes too much, but there are some people that may be sitting out there thinking, man, they're saying my home's worth this. I don't believe it. I mean, they go out and look at the homes. Doesn't the assessor's office, which is separate from yours, but I know you guys kind of work hand in hand. They go out and they look and estimate the value. Is it based exclusively on what they see on the outside around the house, or do they go in?
Well, they may go in some cases, there's been some improvement made, but basically they take a house similar to yours, condition similar to yours, and sales that have been made in your area, and they establish a value based on those. It's a lot more complicated than that, but I just don't want to get into what the assessor does and what we do. But it's mainly based on the value of the property, and they're pretty educated on how to do that, and they do it pretty well right. You know, sometimes people have the opportunity to appeal their value if they do not disagree. That's something that they have the option to do. But the assessor takes all the sales in your neighborhood of houses similar to yours, square footage and conditions, brick, masonry, whatever it is, and
there can be subtle differences that make one house better than another, but in general, size and they're also taking into account whether there's a really nice house right next to one that's not so nice and is more run down. They're still on the same land, and that has the similar value. The property that's built above it is separate, kind of. I mean,
there's two items there: the land value and the building value.
And the land value, I think, is more static because it's next to each other. It's one neighborhood. Whereas you can see there's usually there's one house that's the nicest in the neighborhood, maybe, and then there's another one that's a fixer-upper over here.
Right.
You know, I guess the property value is somewhere in between.
That's right.
You have to do an average.
They take what they're selling for, and then also the condition is considered as well.
Okay.
But the land itself, the land has the value.
Oh, sure. Because as you said earlier, I mean, a lot of people will buy these fixer-uppers in this land if it's a desirable neighborhood, just tear that down and rebuild one, maybe two houses on that piece of property, depending on how big it is.
That's what we're seeing all over the city right now.
So what, they'll buy, well, the tall, skinny house, like if you buy a quarter-acre lot, I don't know how you put more than one house on a quarter acre, but I guess you can't.
Usually the lots are a little bigger than that, so that they can put two houses on it. And there are also many ways that can be done if they're condos, if they're duplexes, if whatever they are. See, there's if they're individual homes, it takes a little bigger lot than that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so as far as getting back to this, I want to just, since this is our last segment, touch bases on what you think is most important for people to understand about what's out there right now.
Okay, well, the most important thing is what we mentioned about the income level for the tax relief or the tax freeze, and if they feel like that they meet any of those requirements, we would be glad to talk to them in the office.
And just so we're clear on income level, that doesn't necessarily mean value of assets, or if a lot of folks out there, if all they're collecting is Social Security, and that hopefully you have more than that, but and a lot of people do, if all you're collecting Social Security, the odds are you are below 29.6.
That's exactly right.
So if that's all you're getting, you probably qualify.
If it's a family, man and wife, and they both have Social Security income and nothing else, then it's very, very likely they can qualify for the $29,860 and definitely qualify for the tax freeze.
Now, if they're collecting, in addition to Social Security, money from pension, maybe money from a 401k or something like that, that has to be added into the total. And if it remains still below that, then you would qualify. And I think a lot of people probably would also, if not for that relief, qualify for the tax freeze. Because that's $42,000.
Absolutely. If they're elderly or have disabilities and meet either one of those requirements, or think they do, or come close, we would be glad to look at what they have.
And if you own property, if you own the property.
If you own the property, that's
Let's go to Sandra. Sandra, good morning. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How can we help you, ma'am?
I have, well, it doesn't belong to me. There's some property that I'm taking care of. There is a family member living in the residence. The owner of the residence is deceased. She left no legal documents in place. so far, those family members that are heirs to the property, at least 3 of them have been able to keep the property taxes current. I'm wondering what the situation is with a residence where there is no legal owner, but the heirs are keeping current as best they can with the property taxes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
Well,
question.
thank you for that question. But here's what must happen: these are rules. We have to abide by rules that the state sets out. It must be the property owner that lives in the home that for them to qualify. What I would suggest that these heirs to the property do something to deed it to this person with some type of life estate. That would be something maybe require an attorney to get into that. I can't give you legal advice, but I would think that some way that could be done, and then if the person that lives there is the owner, whether it's a life estate, there's a good possibility we could help them with the tax relief program.
Is that what you were after? Because that's interesting. They're paying what they are at full cost, but they're not living there. If they found a way to do what he just suggested, then the person living there likely would qualify under these requirements, and then you would get a break on the property tax.
Okay, so it would require an attorney to set up a life estate plan?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You really need to ask the attorney of that. I gave you kind of a scenario of what can happen. That would be something that you would need to ask an attorney. I can't give you legal advice, but there are some, legal aid, legal services that could help you with that.
Yeah, and that's a thought. If the family has the means, the heirs, to do this, if they spend just to hire an attorney for a couple hours work. I don't see this being some big, heavy litigation thing. There's property attorneys that can handle this type of thing and probably know, and they could probably draw up the paperwork for you for a few $100, whatever. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a little more than that, but I don't see that being that expensive. And if you do that, and then it ends up, as you said, maybe saving them on property taxes $600 a year, or maybe freezes it,
yes.
That could easily end up saving them money in the long run over a period of years once they deed it to this individual if they want that person to stay there. The other option is they could just, if that person leaves, just sell the property.
Yes.
Right? Or one of them move in and deed it to themselves. But then, of course, at that point, they probably have more of a higher income, I would think, these people. That's a good question. Someone living in there like that.
Thank you for that question. There may be other folks out there that had a similar question but didn't call in. So that's
exactly. Someone living there. Look, if I'm them, I would look into that. Is there, you can do this year-round? Pretty much.
Yes. We usually start the program after the bills go out.
You get saying those go out when again?
In October.
October. Okay. And so bills go out in October, and the program starts just a little before that to get the word out.
Well, as soon as the bills go out, we start the program then. But folks can come in and apply sooner. We can tell them if they are going to qualify when the tax bill go out. We can't really fill out the application until after the tax bill's sent. So we've got something to work with.
Well, I would imagine there are people out there that maybe their parents are living in. My folks now live in an assisted living facility, but there was a time if they were still where they were in their home that they owned, and this goes back about 4 years, where I think they would have qualified for something like. I'm just curious, by the way, to your knowledge, do other states have, or other counties, maybe even other states have similar relief programs?
I don't know about other states. Some of the 95 counties do use the program, not all, but some 95 counties.
Some, especially probably some of the bigger ones probably do, right? But my point would be, you may not be able to benefit from this, but you may have a loved one or a parent or someone, a friend or neighbor that you thought, hey, you know what? I wonder if Joe, who lives next door alone in the house and is on a fixed income, knows about this. Mention it to them. Let's take one more quick call for you. Is that all right, sir?
Okay, yes.
Hi, Linda. Good morning.
Good morning. I was just wondering about this situation. We have a neighbor who was an only child, and he is probably 55-ish, does not work, is kind of handicapped and all, and I don't know all the situation. But we do know that he's like at least 2 years behind in his taxes, maybe a third year. And what would that take? Because I think the house is still listed in his mother's name. What would that take for him?
Well, here's what would need to happen. The property would have to be placed in his name. That's another situation of where the person would need some legal advice. And the Legal Aid Society can help with some of these things with folks that are on limited incomes. They can't do everything for you because in that case it sounds like it might be something where a will would have to be probated or in that manner, since the house was his mother's. That would be a court action, but an attorney could help with that, and there are many folks out there, attorneys that are willing to do something. Then also the Metro Action Commission might, depending on the income and the age, they might have a way of helping the person as well with financially.
Yeah, you're talking about getting some pro bono help on some of this. Sometimes because it's legal stuff, you just need a lawyer to point you in the right direction, and maybe you can do most of the paperwork yourself. Again, this is not some criminal litigation or anything like that. This is just some, red tape that you have to go through the process to get everything in place. And so I'm glad she called. Look into it, because it could save him that much money. But the key, though, as you said, is it has to be in the name of the person living there.
That's right. We'd be glad to look it up. We'd be glad to check on it just to see how we might advise you.
Yeah, someone can point you, or even one of those pro bono attorneys through Legal Aid Society, and you can even check online and see how that goes. Real quick, let's throw the information back up there, Mary Elena, how you can reach Parker. I don't think he answers the phone himself. He might.
I'll be glad to talk to him.
You'll be glad to. The Metro Trustee's office, they're on 2nd Avenue South, and it's open from 8 to 4:30. The number 862-6330 if you have questions about your property tax, especially, property tax bills and getting some relief from it. I think it's great that that's available. Sir, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a very Merry Christmas.
Well, Merry Christmas to you, and we appreciate so much you giving us the opportunity to be here.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Back with the programming note right after this.